Australia's defence establishment is still struggling to respond to the systemic sexual and physical abuse dating back 60 years, revealed on 7:30 last week. The Defence Chief, General David Hurley, says the perpetrators of hundreds of abuse cases can't be dismissed as just a few bad apples, and he'll agree to whatever remedy the government proposes. That could even be a royal commission. Since this program exposed the extent of the abuse in the Defence Forces last Thursday, even more stories have emerged. Here's political editor Chris Uhlmann.
Anything that tries to define the ADF as an abusive organisation is not acceptable to me. No abuse of any person in the ADF would be acceptable.
Within hours of 7:30's report last week exposing the full extent of a legal review into 60 years of claims of physical and sexual abuse in the Australian Defence Force, its chief was talking to his troops.
It's a very significant document for the ADF because at least 700 odd people have made plausible allegations about abuse during their service in the past. It is about the past to a degree, but some of those allegations come up to last year. So it's about us today as well.
And the claims of mistreatment keep coming.
Since the program went to air Thursday night, we've had again a spike in our inquiries. A lot of these inquiries are new inquiries, which we haven't seen before. Certainly a lot of people have come forward again.
The government has yet to spell out how it will respond.
I haven't discounted a Royal Commission, but I'm not talking it up.
Defence says it will accept whatever the Minister decides, even though the man who commands Australia's forces hasn't seen the entire report.
I've only read the executive summary like everyone else.
You haven't had the full report?
No, I haven't had the full report. The ADF's been kept at arm's length of this process. This is a process between Secretary and Minister.
Advocates for the victims are demanding the release of all of the review, despite the fact that the horrific stories it says it contains are untested.
It could open up a can of worms, but I think it's time now that the full report is out in the public arena so that we can scrutinise just the severity and how high up some of these still ranking officers are.
But even Brian Briggs questions the wisdom of a Royal Commission.
Whilst I welcome any avenue that can weed this out and fix up the culture, the money in a Royal Commission, $50 to $100 million, you're going to compensate an awfully lot of victims with that sort of money. It's seriously, expensive process. It's going to take 2 or 3 years.
There is no dispute among the top brass that this is a report that can't be ignored.
Over the last 12 months, when people have talked about, look, there's a few bad apples, I said we can't take that view that there's just a few bad apples. I'm not saying the organisation is poor. This report does not define the ADF. It talks about an element of behaviour in the ADF that we need to stamp out. But we can't, if we just talk about it as a few bad apples, you won't be able to design programs and address it in a systematic way.
One of the most disturbing parts of the review is the suggestion that some of the perpetrators of abuse might now be senior officers in Defence.
If the perpetrators are in senior roles, they're not going to be interested in outing people that could implicate them in abuse or historical abuse cases. There's this sense that they protect themselves, Caesar judging Caesar, this whole culture of that exists. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Some of the older cases are beyond the reach of any inquiry, like those said to have taken place at the former junior recruit training base in Fremantle, HMAS Lewin.
They've joined Lewin either straight from school or after a short period in civilian employment.
I know that a lot of the blokes who condoned and perpetrated at Lewin are probably dead now, because it was a fair while ago. They did a report into HMAS Lewin called the Rapke Report, and I got a copy of it through my local member here. 2/3 it was blacked out. I mean, what's the good of that?
General Hurley says the allegations have to be tested.
Look, of course I worry about it. Anything that says or tries to define the ADF as an abusive organisation is not acceptable to me, and we need to go through the process to make sure that we sort out what's happened in the past, again, by whatever mechanism the government agrees to, and put in a platform that eliminates as much as possible the chance or risk of that happening in the future.
Political editor Chris Yeoman.